So the brand I started in 2003 with my dad. So my dad is an integral part of the business. He himself was an inventor before we started Choc On Choc. And the reason we started the business was because I'd left university and didn't know what to do. And I'd done graphic design as my study, but I didn't actually want to go and work on a computer. And clearly I can't work computers. So even 20 years later. So I'm much more creative. So what I wanted to do was work with my hands, and Dad's very much the same as well. He has previously invented the magnetic cat flap back in the 70s, where the cat had a magnet on its collar, and then only your cat could come in through the door. So he's a really creative guy, and we started the idea of Choc On Choc together. We just wanted to give people gifts that people would eat and like. We liked the idea of handmade cards, but felt that they just get thrown away, so at least you could eat what we've given you at the end. So the business has grown from just Dad and I in 2003, so we'll be 17 this year, to a team of 28 staff, varying seasonality in terms of staff, but most of the time we've got a core team, about 17 staff. Tends to all be ladies because they tend to be more careful when they're making the chocolate. But that's not a requirement for the job. It just tends to be who applies, as ladies in chocolate seems to be a winning choice. So we've made lots and lots of different designs over the years, and we've supplied stores like John Lewis, Waitrose, Selfridges and Harrods. And we also do lots of export as well. And throughout the years, we've always had a website, which has been a great thing. So back in 2003, we had a website. I didn't even really know what we dialed up. We got some orders down off it. And we've just kind of kept our online presence really nice and big. As we've kind of grown, we've always acted bigger. That's kind of one of the key things we've always done. And we've we then started working on platforms like Etsy as soon as they came out. We were not on the high street when that launched. So we've been able to really create lots of different platforms where we're able to sell. And we did retail shows, as well as obviously selling to the stores, which was our first kind of route to market. Then we realized there was more margin in selling it ourselves. So we've kind of adapted again. So we've got all of those things. So back 3 months ago, we would just be sort of finishing Mother's Day and coming into what would normally have been our kind of quiet period. So not generally too concerned as it normally falls that way. We sort of start to plan, we sort of make our show stock for the shows in September, going through to November, December. And because we have a nice shelf life on the product of up to 9 to 12 months, we can really build ahead on the stock. So we get all of our mail order product ready. And suddenly we came back from half term, so 2 children, and there was, you know, the talk of Corona was getting bigger and bigger. And suddenly I thought, you know what, this is serious, looking at Italy, looking at how it was with friends in Italy, and thought we needed to obviously take it seriously. So most people's answer to taking it seriously was to go and hoard toilet roll, pasta and many other things like that. We actually didn't hoard toilet roll, but the concept of that was actually the savior of this time for us, because it's a product that we created in the coming weeks. So our strength for us to be able to survive was when we lost a platform like the trade, selling to John Lewis, when it suddenly sort of dipped and went silent, was the fact that we had many other places to go to sell, but also our agility. Dad and I can move really fast when we come up with an idea, and we can get it to market within 2 days. And that's the joy of the fact we do everything ourselves. So I would have 3 key things that I was just going to go through today and talk about. Is to say that so point number 1 was get ahead and be proactive. Number 2 is to innovate and be decisive. And I often go with my gut. I don't know why, but it just, if it feels right, I go with it. And 3 is be personal, kind, and on brand at all times. I think that was the key to sort of being able to do it. So when I decided to get ahead, I was mocked ruthlessly by my team, which was in early March, and I wanted to take it seriously. I checked a lot of sources before I kind of went straight into it, and I spoke to people in bigger businesses and asked them how they were handling the situation, what they were doing, and people were telling me that They were creating risk assessments, my pet hate, but things that are required. So what we did initially was we checked as much as we could out. And then I really took it seriously when in early March, a member of our office manager came in and said she had pneumonia. And I was convinced that she must have it. I wasn't sure, so I asked her to go home and work from home. My dad's 76 and he does have diabetes and he does live on site. So obviously that was a key point for me, was we need to take it seriously. So we decided after Boris Johnson held a COBRA meeting, I looked at what COBRA meant, and it's actually Cabinet Office Briefing Room A. So I just changed it and did a chocolate briefing room office A, and we had our own meeting where we went through all of the things that we might need to worry about. So we planned, what would we do if someone was ill? How would we cope with that? Would it impact everybody? Would it impact somebody else? What if one of the staff's children, because there's a lot of mothers work for us, and what if the schools were shut? How would that affect us? So we just planned it all out, talked it through, and various members of staff still at this point were not taking it very seriously. And I said, it's fine, but my job is to obviously look after you in the building, it's health and safety. By the 17th, just after that, I saw that our order books were empty. And I knew that nothing was coming in, and I wasn't prepared to splash our cash on building stock at that point. So my reaction was that I needed to cull the team, and we were sitting at about 24 members of staff, and I took it down to 13 in one quick fail sweep, which was not nice. We looked at the members of staff that were temporary, which would probably have started to ease off, and made decisions quickly. So we initially said to the staff that they would have to leave, but in order to save cash, we put them on like a 3-week period where we would pay their week's holiday, their week's notice, and then anything else that was owed to them. And during that time, obviously, the furlough scheme was offered, so we were then able to sort of put them onto the furlough scheme. We got rid of the cleaning agency that we used because the team all said that they would be able to do that, so we cut costs quickly. It was not nice to do. It was like a mass culling, and I had to do quite a lot of it over the phone as well, on FaceTime and things like that. But it was essential because at the end of the day there was nothing coming in and only things going out. So we started to renew all the systems as well for the core staff that were in, and make sure that we had a one-way system. So we had that in place from the 18th of March, a one-way system within the business. The new phrase social distancing was sort of coming out. So we took that literally and started to distance the staff. We created a new flow in the factory. It was all one way, and staff had individual benches. Normally they work on a line, no breaks together. And we provided masks and shields, which we made compulsory because we also weren't sure whether staff were going to be behaving outside of work. There's quite a lot of young staff on the team. We weren't sure if they were going to actually follow any of these guidelines. And then that Sunday we went into lockdown. So at that point I provided letters for the staff and said they can come to work. This is why they're coming into work. We are a business and we are essential. I didn't think we were essential, but in my mind it was essential that I had an income, so I was going with that. And as we did that weekend, the website started to take off. We sort of went up to Christmas levels of 1,000 orders a day, and the trade buyers for shops like Moonpig and Funky Pigeon sort of all saw exactly the same reaction. So by the Monday, we were receiving really great trade orders as well, and the team were all in, and I actually had to start pulling the others back off furlough and sort of reinstating those that were on the team. So some people never even made it onto furlough for an afternoon, as it were. So that was nice to be able to offer the staff that and bring them back. So the staff came into the new sort of factory way of working and were really great at just adapting. So the second thing was we innovated, and again, obviously being decisive previously, but being decisive in what we launched. So we didn't minimize the range on the website. We left it exactly as it was. And the key phrase that Boris kept saying was we had to save the NHS. So we decided to do a range with the NHS in the middle of our box of 9, and there's some chocolate nurses around it. So we're picking up on the trends of what was happening without trying to capitalize. but obviously knowing that that was a key thing. So we did a chocolate rosette with You're Amazing on it, and that the NHS were amazing. And then that Thursday, Clap for Carers began. So it all kind of just sort of fell in at the right time. We created that idea on the 18th, and by the 21st, we had launched it. We also created a chocolate toilet roll. Alongside the rest of our products, we do things like your chocolate 5 a day. So we are known for our humour, and the chocolate toilet roll just ran away. We put it up on social media. The love for it was immense. And it turned out we sold one every 3 minutes throughout 10 weeks of lockdown, which equated to over 16,000 loo rolls. So we literally were making loo rolls all day and night, and sending out pallets of them to also stores like Funky Pigeon, who have that similar type of humour. The NHS ones, we donated £1 from every chocolate that we sold, and that was really, really good as well. That helped to drive traffic to the site, but everybody was gifting at that period. So and we had Easter, so we had already supplied our Easter products to the shop. So we thought, okay, this will just last till Easter. This is exciting. But then obviously Father's Day has now come. But again, there was a big gap in between, but we still had a really good May. So at the beginning of lockdown, I also have a range of chocolates, which are chocolate dumbbell and chocolate kettlebells. And I've got lots and lots of gym friends. So I asked them all and some influencers if I could send them some chocolate workout gear. And everybody was buying workout gear right at the beginning. So it kind of, again, sat really nicely. It was a popular trend that was happening. So everybody got sent out these parcels, not just to be sending you some biscuits. And then they all did little chocolate workouts. So lift, eat, repeat with our tiny little dumbbells. The kids got involved and did TikTok videos, turning from a real kettlebell into a tiny kettlebell made out of chocolate. And again, we were able to share those on all our channels and just kind of get some engagement going. So that was wonderful, and that really helped because I was lacking in imaginative stuff to do. I just wanted to curl up and cry. So it was great to have people genuinely speaking about our product and loving it. We also saw that the nation were baking a lot. So about 5 weeks ago, we added, maybe less than that, we added chocolate brownies into our range. But this is a fresh product. We wouldn't normally do a fresh product, but we felt that it was something that needed to be done. It's also one of our negative keywords in PPC, which we spent a good time looking at the things that we don't bid on, purely because someone clicks on chocolate brownies, it comes to our site, and then there are no brownies to buy, and we've just wasted money. So we went through the negative keyword list and found some products that we could sell and create, and brownies was one of those. So in the last 4 weeks, we've sold over 1,000 brownies without really sort of trying to sell them, just because it's something that the nation seem to want right now. But I'm still working on Christmas. It's still going to happen. And whether it happens in a lockdown situation or in a normal situation, we've still got to plan for it. So I've spent the time also planning a new Christmas cracker. It's a sustainable Christmas cracker, and again, climate change and all of that will come back. It's just currently hidden underneath the pandemic, but all of that will be discussed again. So we want to keep on trend in terms of what we're offering in terms of product. And then lastly, like, be personal and be kind and on brand. A lot of the buyers were sat at home on their own, and most of them were drinking gin out of their teacups. They told me. They were very lonely because they're used to really busy office environments where they're almost too busy to do anything. And now they were actually available. They wanted to talk. They requested calls, and they told me things that probably think they shouldn't have told me, but that's fine. I think we were just there, and we just emailed them all and said, hi, we're around. We're still making chocolate. We're not stopping. We've put all the measures in place. You can see our plans, and we're happy to open the doors to you virtually if you want to see it. And brands like John Lewis were really responsive to this. They've relisted and are now selling the NHS range. Moonpig, again, got very excited about some of that stuff. They donated £5 from every chocolate, and they sold over 10,000 of them. Funky Pigeon again. So lots of things like that. We just spoke with buyers that were old buyers or new buyers, and kind of got new custom as well. I wasn't able to go to the factory because it's 100 miles away, and I live in London, and it's down in Bath. And so until the sort of resist movements restrictions were lifted, I stayed here, and also I was worried about Dad, and worked on the costings. And I worked on the costings, and I realised that some of my costings were not right. And it was a great moment to, whilst doing the catalogue, to review all of that and then go forward and say, these are our new prices. We've lost this, we've cut that. There would never have been a moment where I would have taken a full stop, looked at the business and said, right, we're not doing that anymore. Actually, we're not going to supply these people because that doesn't work for us anymore. And the great thing is that people like John Lewis, I explained that to them. They used to want to buy a product that should be £4.25, for argument's sake. They would want to buy that at £3.70. And just yesterday, we were discussing with them, and I said, it's that this is the price. It has to be the price, or there's no point in me running this business. These are our new costs, and this is what, you know, you should I suggest to retail. And to be honest, everyone seems to be very accepting of that, and I think we'll all get an opportunity to make some really good changes like that. So it hasn't been without problems. HR has been the biggest problem, but that's, you know, everything has, there are always times like that. But in terms of sort of results, just to finish up, we've April and May, our whole business each month has been up 89%, May and April and May. And June, including digital trade, so that's supplying people like Moonpig as well, because if they place later Father's Day orders, bump and stuff like that, is up 538%. No, I didn't just do a pound last year, just to clarify. We did work on last year in June, but it is one of our really slow months. But for a sort of point of perspective, it's 25% of annual revenue I've just done in 1 month. And we did it, and I'm so proud of my team. My team always said, we're not stopping, we don't want to give up, and I'm not going to let you lose your business, were the words of my production manager of 17 years and a sales lady that helps me as well. And both of those, you know, have really helped push the business forward. So I think just by being open and not accepting potentially that we had to close, I think it was too easy to just go, let's close. We made it work, and I'm just really proud of our team and the fact that we've popped out the other side and we're all still here, and we didn't get too fat in lockdown. So it's all good.
Well, thank you very much. That was a great presentation, and gave a lot of insights on a business that has been in existence for nearly 20 years and has managed to thrive in various situations. But this one, you took into consideration what is going on. You focused and you talked about 3 major points. And so the guys have a chance to ask some questions. Now, the very first question comes from Dan. Now, Dan is interested in talking about the platforms you use and wanted to talk about marketing strategy. So Dan, if you could ask your question to Flo.
Yeah. Cheers, Michelangelo. Yeah, Flo, just something interesting. Obviously, with Not For Long, we're dealing with a lot of businesses, and taking them onto digital e-com platforms is one of the big things that some of them are struggling to do, some of them are brilliant at it, etc. You obviously seem like you're brilliant at it. I was wondering if you could share a few marketing strategies from the beginning when you're on platforms like Etsy. What were one of the ways that you found what were some of the tactics that you found that being successful on those platforms, growing a bit of a following, getting people coming to your online stores, I suppose?
So I think on things like Etsy, we didn't, and not on the high street, we haven't been able to have too much control in how we got people to us. It was almost left down to those businesses. That was what they did. But whenever we talked, I mean, obviously only recently on social, not 17 years ago, but we would always have anything at the bottom of our emails, anything like that. Whenever we sent out, we said we sold on other platforms, but just to give us kudos, really, that we were hanging out with the big boys as well, hoping that they would obviously buy from us and not go and buy from Etsy, where we had to pay a commission. They've all sort of grown organically. In the last year, we've done some real work on Etsy and seen massive growth, but so much growth that then they've now changed the fee structure, which was 4% and is now nearing up to 25% commission. So sometimes it's not such a great thing. Yeah. But I think really everything we've done on social over lockdown has been genuine. I haven't tried to do sales pitches. I've just wanted to just tell the truth and say, look, we're having a nightmare, or this is what's happened, this is what we sell. Whenever we put up a post. One went up the other day about football, and it was just very boring, and I took it down and I rewrote it and was like, actually, no, we really are excited. My family, I've missed the noise in the background, rather than literally like, football's coming back on the telly tomorrow, and here's a picture of a box of footballs. So just trying to make everything very genuine. I think people, especially during this time, have really related to, and that's also boosted our, you know, our followings as well. And I think that, and people have been much more keen to share over lockdown as well. Pictures.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, Flo. Thanks, Dan, for the question. Now, I have another question coming from Jason, who wants to talk about watching the market. And Jason, would you like to expand on that question for Flo?
Yeah, firstly, a great story. I took multiple notes. You mentioned watching the moment, you know, noticing things like the brownie, noticing everyone being fit, the hashtag lift, eat, repeat, which I absolutely loved. How are you watching that market? Are you using sort of alerts? Do you have a team that watches it? How are you doing that?
It's just me. I scroll far too much on Instagram probably and other platforms. Normally we produce our products based on trends. So I just see like a sloth trend is coming through. I've noticed it a lot more on cards. It's coming through. So the sloth chocolate will probably be out in the next few weeks, knowing that that's sort of coming. So basically, I just see what's going on. I look at fashion quite a lot in terms of what's happening on prints on clothes, things like that, because that often does, the fashion is so far ahead, and then everything tends to follow the fashion. And also just knowing that I was quite a gym bunny, I knew that I was going to miss it. What was I going to do about it? And then just talking to the people that I know and getting them to do it. And then I don't know really. I sometimes don't really know how to do any of it. But I think just keeping my eyes open and looking at and just seeing rather than trying to find trends. I just see things that reoccur. I think that's better. There's no kind of alert system or anything like that. It is just genuine observation as to what's happening. Tends to be my best way of doing trend searching as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Flo, for that. Our next question comes from Luke, and he wants to go into maybe just a little bit, getting a better picture about looking into what, quote unquote, is the small stuff. So Luke, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, I think it's more to do with the nitty gritty, I would say. I think everyone picks up on brands and products, but actually the Excel spreadsheets of the numbers and the figures that the business is running at, how do you kind of make those decisions? Do you make sure that you've got a full picture with small details into every little expense is planned out and mapped and cash flows, or do you kind of take a bit of an overview, a bit of a bigger picture and look at where it's heading and make decisions based on that?
So every product that we create instantly goes into the costing sheet, and then I know what that product costs me. Obviously, if there becomes a volume, then that actually can decrease because I can get more efficiencies out of the member of staff. But the costing always goes in as the worst case scenario. So technically there should be room for movement, especially if a buyer needs to like knock a price, but we try and resist that as much as we can. And then in terms of the online pricing, retail, I know where everything's at. We have had to make a few extra payment costs where packaging companies were closed that we normally rely on. So we've had to go elsewhere during the time, and that's kind of caused a slight margin change on things. Some staff have asked for pay rises, and then it's not really the time for pay rises. So I have been as strict as I can in keeping on top of all the sort of miniature, which is most important, the detail. And our accounts are done, we do everything daily, so it's kept to date, so we can look into QuickBooks and see an immediate picture of what's happening on the top line. And then obviously further down, some costs we just can't change the packaging company. So because it's been hot, clearly not today, but because we had a really hot May, my postal costs are much higher because I chose to do a next day service to eliminate the amount of melting chocolate and then refunds I'd have to make and resend. So although that's taken a hit, the sales were much, much higher. So the sales we were trading in May, just online alone, at 555% higher than the previous year. So we hardly did anything last May. It's not a month to do anything. It's just normally a bit warm. So we did a lot more, but I know my cost has increased there. So I have lost a bit of profitability and margin due to that. But I wanted to deliver. If I don't deliver now, I'm not going to be able to keep these customers.
And increase and think, yeah, there's probably a bit of room in that as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we've and there's definitely become more efficiencies from being busier as well. So that's good.
Flo, one more question, and this comes from me. In critical in all small to medium-sized business is the vision of the leader, the vision of the owner, the CEO, and pointing all the ships in the right direction. Now, yours business is a unique business, but there are a lot of learnings for everyone else. How do you keep your staff motivated and concentrated on your vision, and to believe not only in the product, but what you're trying to achieve?
I think mainly the team, most of our team do it for Dad, and they do it for myself. We are very much like a family. Dad is Dad to most of the ladies in there. A lot of the ladies come from Poland, and their families aren't there, and they particularly love having Dad around as their dad. I think everybody realizes that if they could see the pain in my face when I was making the decisions, they could see how upset I was at having to potentially say, I have nothing for you to do. So I think by having that awful moment, which luckily for us was literally 24 hours, 48 hours of having to have them really see like me laid bare. They know if things are not right, they can sense it from me, and I don't like walk around and pretend everything's fine if it's not. Need credit, overgive. But I do think by being a bit open like that really has helped. And they really all sort of, jumped in together and said, right, what can we do? How can we make this work? We'll do the cleaning. Get rid of those cleaners. They cost you too much money. We'll do it. And I think that's been, I think that's how possibly, I think they do it for us. So